All right. So tomorrow I leave to go pick up the plane. We close today. Everything's good to go. Plane is officially ours. All right. So happy, over the moon. Now I got to figure out how to fly this damn thing from Norfolk, Virginia, back to El Paso, Texas. I have been doing constant flight planning from, since I started looking at this when this looked like to being real. Using ForeFlight, making the flight plan back and forth. It's constantly changing. This flight plan has changed a million times. It keeps on asking me to download, the maps and all that, everything I would need for this flight, which might show you guys depending if I can figure out how to screen record. So what has happened is there's a major snowstorm flying into Norfolk on late Saturday night. So my original plan was to fly in on Saturday night, or excuse me, about Saturday midday, check out the plane and fly out on Sunday. That's not going to happen. So then I changed the plan to fly in Saturday, still fly in on Saturday, same time, but then fly out on Saturday as soon as I get to check out the plane and try to make it down to Alabama that night to get out of the storm before it really hits. Problem is that flight, I'm waking up at 4 a.m. here, actually about 4 a.m. to make it to the airport on time for my flight out. And that's just not going to happen because work, gave me a few days off to allow me to go get this plane, put in the paperwork, so on and so forth. So I got like that. My schedule on Friday changed. So I changed my plane and now I'm going to fly out on Friday and fly on Sunday, or fly out. Now I can check out the plane on Saturday and then start flying it home on that day. So let me turn off some of these overlays here because I got gas prices because it's kind of important to me. That's what we're looking like. 12, 14 hours. Depending on winds. Right now it's actually looking like I'll have tailwinds for the most part. So that'll really help me. Looking at doing this over 2 days. Making it to the edge of Eastern Texas on the first day and the second day. From there, I've done absolutely no packing. Done no laundry. I got work sitting up there on that counter back behind me that I need to do. And we have that hellion I'm dealing with right now. So I'll be recording the rest of this journey, see how it goes. Yeah. I say, yeah, a lot. I'll probably edit all that out. Yeah? You want to fly with Daddy?
Josh, where are you going?
Crazy. Just put the plane away. The truck away in the hangar. My fancy bats I'm holding. I'm not scatterbrained at all. So, right in the hangar. Changed my clothes. Currently wearing work boots because I forgot my shoes. So I'm in sweatpants.
It's not the first time that Josh has forgot shoes on any of our trips, by the way. Which I'm not going with Josh on this trip. But still, forgetting shoes is not an uncommon situation.
So I generally forget something every trip. This time it's my shoes. So I'm in work boots and sweatpants right now. So now we're driving over to the commercial aviation side. I have a half an hour to get through security and to make my boarding time. And then I'm flying to Virginia to pick up the plane.
Okay, so I was right when I said Virginia. I was questioning myself.
I don't even know where our plane's at.
I don't. How are you feeling?
Overwhelmed. Yeah, overwhelmed.
Excited?
Very.
Is it real yet?
No.
Josh says he doesn't really own the plane until he picks it up and flies it home. I'm like, well, we closed escrow yesterday, so we actually own a plane. We don't physically have it, but we do own a plane. Okay, and then Ian, what are you doing? Say hi. Can you say hi? I don't know if you can see him.
Okay, made it to my hotel. Flights went well. Everything was fine. Took a taxi ride over to the hotel. It was a little weird. Got there, checked in, everything was just fine. Get up to my room, and it was very, very dirty and smelled horribly like smoke, like thick smoke. Like somebody was just in there smoking right before I got in the room. Called to see if I could switch a room. They said they didn't have any availability. Long story short, I ended up having, there's no way I could have slept in there. I have asthma, and that kind of affects me when I'm trying to sleep, especially when I'm trying to get ready for a long flight the next day. So I walked my happy little butt over to the next hotel, got myself a room, got checked in. Has a nice little flight plan, like little planning area, everything perfect for flight plan tomorrow, so I can get the updated weather. And so I pulled out my iPad to realize item number two I forgot would be the iPad. Yeah. So what we had to do, break out the iPhone, adjust, do all the flight planning off the iPhone. I got ForeFlight on the iPhone. It still links up to the ADS-B antenna, so I can still get my weather, my traffic alerts, everything. It's just going to be on the much smaller version of the iPhone versus the iPad, and it's going to get more adventurous. It's now 5 minutes till midnight here Eastern time, and I got to get up. I'm probably 6:37, so I should get out of bed. It's been a long day. I'm still in my boots. Shoes and iPad. This is why it should not be left unsupervised when I pack. I blame you, Kelly. So I spent the next hour or two finishing up the flight plan, hoping to get me to the eastern edge of Texas, with 2 fuel stops and then the third stop where I'd remain overnight, making day 2 a lot easier. In the morning, I woke up and Greg came down, picked me up from the hotel, brought me down to the plane to where it was at inside the hangar there at Norfolk International. Showed me a few things out the plane. We walked around. We talked about a bunch of different things regarding specifics to this Mooney. Did a few little minor tweaks and adjustments on it. Then we got in the plane. I hooked up the GoPro and started recording. And then later realized that the battery was not actually installed in the GoPro, so none of it happened. And later realized that none of the audio was being recorded. Took off with the flight with Greg for Norfolk just for a plane familiarization because I wanted to fly with somebody that had flown this plane before I took it all the way across country by myself. The second we took off and rotated out, my headset malfunctioned and absolutely stopped working. So I had to transfer the controls to him, even though we had just taken out the push to talk on the passenger side while I was trying to switch out headsets, and it was kind of a mess. Eventually got it situated and showed me a few things about the plane, and we flew it back. Turned around, shook hands. He said, "Congratulations, you're now a plane owner." And I low-key started freaking out. Turned around, regassed up the plane because I knew I had a long journey up ahead and started doing some flight planning. And called 1-800 Weather Brief. Got myself a good VFR weather brief to where they started talking about the storms moving in a lot sooner than what was forecasted. The front was pushing through. This front was the reason why I chose to go southbound first and then push over to the west. However, it's looking like this was not even going to affect those plans. I figured I can get up in the air as quick as I can using the ForeFlight Sentry, start pulling weather from other airports and see what was happening along around a flight and possibly make any adjustments. Turned around, taxied out, took off, and now I was on my own on this cross-country flight. I had a bunch of co-workers asked to see if they can come along on this flight, and I all told them no because this is something I want to do by myself. The longest cross-country I've ever done, the longest solo I've ever done, and now it's in a plane that I just took off on that I've had a total of 1 landing in this specific plane. Yeah, what can go wrong? First problem I ran into was in the first leg. I was trying to get down to Kilo Papa X-ray, just based on kind of what I've seen, where I can make it on fuel, and through my first leg through there. However, I didn't quite know how to fly this plane efficiently at this point yet, so I was burning a little bit more gas than I was expected. And then the fuel tanks were starting to read a little low because I also had some heavier winds aloft than what was originally forecast. So I started getting on ForeFlight and started looking at for other options and decided that I was going to go to Kilo Delta Bravo November, which was about 30, 45 miles closer as I was getting closer and the gas tanks were started getting empty. These airports were chosen based on distance and then where I thought how far I can fly. I chose the airport in that region that had the cheapest gas prices because aviation is expensive. So I made those adjustments and I started flying towards Kilo Delta Bravo November and started looking at the weather down on the next leg. And it was starting to look ugly. We were looking at airports through East West Texas and seeing that winds were in the 40 to 50 mile an hour range and getting worse as the front was pushing through. So I knew I wasn't going to be able to make it to my stop there in East Texas. So as I'm coming into the airport to make a land, I decided that we were going to pull the phone out, start doing some research, and find a different spot to land and stay overnight. Came in and landed with a pretty good crosswind as traffic was landing on the crosswind runway for some reason, even though there was a runway that went straight down the wind line. Taxied into the fuel pumps, got the gas, and then pulled out the iPhone and started researching all the airports that where I could possibly find a place. This was on a weekend, coming through on a Saturday, and it's now a Saturday evening in the middle of a pandemic, which ends up leading to several problems trying to find a spot to call. I start calling airports in the general vicinity, and a lot of them were not answering. The ones I were able to get a hold of first told me that there was possible some tie downs. They weren't sure. There was no tie down fee, but they said there might be some tie downs on the ramp. You know, you can go ahead and park there, and good luck, they might belong to somebody else. Eventually did get a hold of an FBO, and the FBO told me I was good to go. And that airport was at Hawkins Field in Jackson, Mississippi. They said they had a hangar for storage, some gas, and that they were going to be, somebody was there going to be during the night. According to ForeFlight, I was going to be just landing in front of the front before it reached in. So I knew I was going to be facing some winds that associated with the front pushing in. But that was about as far as I was going to be able to push it based on gas and with the weather. Any further than that, I'd be getting into the middle of the storm and it wasn't going to be good. So I got back in the aircraft as fast as I can, taxied out, and took off from Barron Regional, climbed on out, and started flying my way over to Hawkins Regional, starting to stress about the upcoming weather that we were going to possibly face. So naturally, I didn't lock the collar in when after I took off and put my gear up. And I figured I'd fight the landing gear and try to fly this thing. Lots of learning took place on this flight. After I finally figured out how to get the gear up and locked in, started flying westbound and enjoyed some beautiful views on the sunset. However, as I got closer to Hawkins, the clouds pushed lower, turbulence increased, and it got extremely dark as the front was pushing in a lot faster than originally forecasted. Hawkinsville was right next to a major international airport that I wasn't wanting to land at due to prices. However, when I was looking at Hawkins airports, they had two runways, 1634 and 1129. 1634 was closed, 1129 was open. Jacksonville had two runways that basically faced 16 and 34. At the time, the winds were coming out of the south, a direct 90-degree crosswind if I wanted to land at Hawkins on 11. At this point, I'm really considering going to Jackson just because I can land straight into the wind versus this crosswind. As we get closer, the forecaster asked if I actually really wanted to do this because it was looking at a 30-degree crosswind. And I told him I'd give it a try, and if it didn't work, I'd go over to Jackson. So this was my third landing ever in this plane with the strongest crosswinds I've ever faced. At night at an unfamiliar airport. Alright, end of day 2 to this adventure. I'm in Jackson, Mississippi, I think. Actually, I got a hold of a hangar, paying for the hangar, a little bit of price for gas because I'm now at this place. But it worked out. Flying in, had insane weather the last little hour. I don't know if the video caught it. We'll see here in a second of how sideways I was trying to come into land in a plane I just bought. That was my third landing in a plane with the strongest crosswind I ever had. So got in the room, looking at the weather tomorrow. Tired, very, very tired. Happy to be on the ground, and excited to continue on this adventure tomorrow. Looking like low ceilings, but legal weather. Like I'll be able to get out of here and fly out for tomorrow morning, and then make it home by Sunday. And then we can start the adventures with the family on Monday. Dependent on those clouds, so we will see. For now, I went to the gas station. Found the nectar of the gods, and gonna enjoy this one and then go to bed. And then we'll try this again tomorrow.
Hawkins Tower, good morning. It's Mooney 5976, Quebec, holding short of 29 on Charlie, ready for takeoff. Departure to the west.
Mooney 5976, Quebec, Hawkins Tower, roger. Hold short, runway 29, landing traffic.
Hold short, have traffic in sight. Just got an alert from my 4-plate sentry saying carbon monoxide is high because I'm sitting here with the tailwind pushing the exhaust basically right in the cockpit. So, it'll be alright as soon as we get going.
Mooney 76 Quebec, the wind's 290 at 15. Proceed on course, clear for takeoff.
76 Quebec, clear for takeoff.
65
2600, airspeed's alive. I'm at 40 knots for a bit there. We're rotating at 65. Right there, there's 70.
Mooney 76 Quebec, contact Jackson departure. Good day, sir.
Over departure for 76 Quebec. Landing gear.
One day, I'll remember to buckle the co-pilot's seatbelt and not have to worry about the gear like I did that time. After getting the gear handled, climbed out of Hawkins, there was a cloud layer between Hawkins and my next stop that allowed me to go VFR on top. So I climbed above, enjoyed the beautiful views before descending VFR back into my next stop.
Alright, been flying for about an hour. Burning a little over 10 gallons an hour, which is nice. Getting a lot better fuel mileage. Do some research on how to better lean this thing, get better gas mileage out of it. Gas mileage, air mileage. Anyway, looking at this thing, comes time. Mooney has gas in the tanks like most planes do. Unlike like Cessnas that have a fuel selector where you can drop them both, it only drops from one tank at a time. The fuel selector is small and down on the bottom of this floor, which makes it really hard to get to. So owner of this plane, the previous owner, built this thing. Fuel selector Rich. Fix this thing.
Monroe approaching there, 5261.
Not easy. Just switch to
5261, Monroe approach altimeter 3006. Descend.
3, maintain 290, 3025, envoy 4179.
altitude. And then the second we got down below 5,000, we're getting bumped all over the place. Showing 20 miles out. Had to slow down because I got to stay in the maneuvering arc when we're getting in this kind of turbulence.
3700, pull your speed back.
Alright, below 120 gear. Green, gear is green, that's locked. Stephenville, Mooney, 597 will be, go around, high overflying at high altitude. Rejoining the pattern, Stephenville. I was looking too far. The airport's directly below us, so. We're gonna come out a little bit. Of course, they put trees right here at the end of it.
Stephenville traffic, Dakota 815.
So I got gas in Stevensville Regional and taxied on out to the runway. Hooked up the GoPro and hooked up the microphone. Later realized upon post-editing that the microphone was not hooked up. But came up here and started out on the final leg from Stevensville to El Paso. As at this point from flying the plane, I figured out some better settings. So I was going faster, a little bit better burn rate, and then plus we were also going up to where the winds were a lot less chaotic. Oh, and at this point, I think I had finally figured out how to put the gear up. Ignore the face. First time go.
Oh, I had a bump on the brakes. Turbulence. So, I had to stay within the green arc. But it's alright, the winds aren't bad, so we're actually still doing 140. Just get bounced around a little bit now, and I can't back and relax anymore. Actually got to fly this thing. Two hours to go. Quicker, there wasn't any damn turbulence. Always remember, cross-country flights. Next.
The rest of the flight over West Texas was as you imagined. Flat and bumpy. Eventually got into El Paso, turned the camera on and got all the recordings ready to go. But as somebody that does photography and video, yeah, I forgot to switch out the batteries, so the cameras died coming in final. But we got her in, flew and landed at El Paso, came up to the gas pumps, refilled the airplane. Got her finally into her home, got her parked into the hangar with the help of a buddy, and that was the end of the journey.